So it's Saturday, April 10. My last video where I mentioned that I just got a new Honda Ridgeline is doing really well. So I figured I'd do a follow-up video and show you all how I load up my truck, my new Honda Ridgeline for kayak fishing. I have a feeling there's going to be quite a few guys out there that might be interested in that video. So here we go. First, I want to show you here my setup in my garage. I just went to Home Depot and bought a couple of sawhorses. I'm one of those people, when I get super excited about going hunting or fishing or motorcycling, I tend to forget stuff. So I try to have everything that I need for kayak fishing either on or just under my kayak as it sits here in the garage, and that helps me to make sure I don't end up forgetting anything. Even then, I do sometimes occasionally still forget stuff. Like my first outing this year, I forgot my net. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how I load up my new 2020 Honda Ridgeline for kayak fishing. I guess I should mention something that I didn't mention in the last video, and that is I got a leftover 2020. I got a really great lease deal on a leftover 2020 Honda Ridgeline from my local dealer. It was the last 2020 they had. Yes, I would have loved to get a 2021 because it's been redesigned. It's got the dual exhaust, it's got a volume knob now, and it's got the new, much more masculine front end, a little bit of a wider stance, some new, more off-road looking tires. But the lease rates on the brand new Ridgeline were quite horrible. So I ended up pursuing this one, knowing that it's just a 2-year lease, and in 2 years I can get the new redesigned Ridgeline. But I'll take a quick walk around it. This is, of course, the Ridgeline that everyone's been familiar with since 2017, with a pretty controversial style that looks so much like the Pilot and the Passport, and on the front half of the vehicle, with kind of a bed tacked on the back, kind of like a El Camino or a Ranchero. I happen to not mind the styling at all. Doesn't bother me a bit. All the other amazing features of this more than make up for any lack of styling, in my opinion. So without further ado, let's load her up for kayak fishing, and hopefully I can get some in today before it rains. Okay, first thing we'll do here, it's got proximity keyless entry, something I really love. Just stick your hand in there and unlocks all the locks. And it's got the magic rear seat, very similar to the Honda Fit and the Honda HR-V. It's 60/40, so let's fold up this side here, move some of my things over. This is where I put my kayak seat, which doesn't fit in the in-bed trunk all that well, so that's where the seat's gonna go. And then I love the dual action tailgate. This also locks and unlocks with the rest of the locks, which is a great feature. Open it to the side like this and pop open the in-bed trunk, and we'll load that up with all my kayak fishing. Get my bungees and everything out. Set those aside. This I just throw in the bed of the truck because the liner is a little bit abrasive. I figure I'll put a little blanket in there so that the kayak slides on the blanket instead of on the abrasive bed liner of the truck. I'll just start grabbing my stuff. Of course, start with my crate, which is filled with my lures and everything, and my dry bag that I put my wallet and keys in. This in-bed trunk is so much larger than I thought it was, based on the online videos and things that I've watched over the years on the Ridgeline. It just fits so much stuff. Amazingly, it even fits my paddle. My paddle breaks down into 2 sections, and anchored, life jacket. Paddle sits right on top like that. It's in there perfectly. My dirty boots that I use for launching, and helps me launch a lot easier to be able to step in the water and not get wet versus trying to, launch from the shore with regular shoes on. I always get my shoes wet, so I always wear these boots. That's why I wear the boots kayak fishing. I know there's alternatives that might look a little better, but I don't really care about that kind of thing. odds and ends, my net, cushion for my seat, sun hat, all fit in here perfectly well. And there she is, pretty much loaded up. Of course, got a lot more room if I had more stuff to bring. And then, like I mentioned, my metal frame kayak seat fits in the back seat area here with the seat folded up just perfectly, like it was made for it. Just sits there just perfectly. And then I put my bag here with all my GoPro stuff. Can actually grab that too. Ta-da! And now it's time to load up the kayak itself. Shut the trunk lid. This is waterproof, the trunk, which is awesome. Switch the tailgate to the, gonna unlock this again with my proximity. Keyless entry. This does not have the soft touch open for the tailgate, so it will drop real hard if you don't let it down gently. Throw my blanket in. Ta-da. And then I always leave the kayak in the position it needs to be in to load it up in my truck. Pick her up. Easy peasy. This is a very light kayak, about 50 pounds. So I guess I should mention that I have a Crescent 10-foot ultralight. It's a fantastic kayak. Highly, highly, highly recommend it as a great all-around fishing kayak. It just paddles so well, and it's incredibly stable for a 10-foot kayak. And this is a 64-inch bed. As you can see, I've got about 3 feet or so hanging off. I don't feel the need with such, so little kayak hanging off to put a flag on the end. If I had a 12-footer, I would still feel comfortable hauling it this way, but I would definitely want a flag on the end if I had a 12-foot kayak. But with a 10-footer, I just don't see the need. I don't think it's sticking out beyond the tailgate enough to warrant a flag. So, although again, it wouldn't hurt. So I guess we'll see if I can find one that I like. I won't bore you with strapping it down, but that's what she looks like once it's loaded up. Obviously that took me just a couple of minutes to load the whole thing up once I strapped this down. How do I transport my rods and reels? Well, very simply and easily. The kayak itself is like the perfect way to transport my rods and reels. They're already set up and ready to fish. Slide them under there. And then once I've got 2 or 3 of them in there, just put this across the bungee, and they ride like that perfectly. So here's the view from the side once it's loaded up. I've been driving Toyota Tundras and Toyota Tacomas for years, and I don't have anything bad to say about Toyota trucks. In fact, I really like Toyota trucks a lot. My neighbor's got a TRD off-road, which I'll step over here and show you. I actually had the sand colored version of that truck right there, and I liked it a lot. But the bottom line is my Ridgeline is 1,000 times more pleasant to drive as a daily driver. It's so much smoother, quieter, more comfortable, and much more practical. The best gas mileage I ever got with my Tundras was 16, and the best gas mileage I ever got with my Tacomas was 18, and I'm easily averaging 22 or 23 in mixed city and highway driving with the Ridgeline. So that's another bonus. And this is the sport entry-level model, and I think it comes quite loaded too, compared to the Tacoma. So that's my video, how I use my new Ridgeline for kayak fishing. Thanks for watching. See you on the lake.